Ooh,
Yay.
yeah. Let's do this. Talk about idols. All right. So, ah,
You gotta go, I did it.
it's like Love Live.
Labalaibu.
All right. Let me just explain myself real quick. That way, like, I guess it's not as just out of
Just like,
nowhere. I'm probably gonna
yeah,
have to
like,
cut out all this goofing around in the beginning, but whatever. Okay, so me and Nick, my lovely assistant, have finished the first two seasons of the original Love Live, and now we're just gonna talk about it. So sit down, relax, and just listen. Just listen to our voices. There's your explanation. Yeah. All right, let's start.
and hopefully you will go Kara show with us too.
Yep. It's kind of cool. All right. So what do we think of it? I guess let's
Well,
start.
I mean, I'll let you go first because this is your first time. I've seen it
Oh
twice
yeah,
now.
yeah. Nick, like the resident idol trash.
I've
Okay.
been, I've been a watcher since 2015, so
Yep. So yeah, like it was surprisingly fun. Like honestly, I don't think I would have touched this show if I hadn't been like, okay, let's just watch it. Let's just watch it with Nick. Let's just do it.
well, I was the
It
one that
was
kind of got you to watch it.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you said you've always had like a curiosity to try it, but
yeah.
it was probably one of those shows for you that like you always say you get to it, but you just never really got
Yeah,
around.
never really got around to doing it at all. Like I look at it and I go like someday, maybe.
And because I was in that particular mood that like one weekend, I was just like, let's watch it because I'm playing the game a lot and I want to watch it again. So
Yeah, I was on that straight up brain crack, which I'll probably make my own video on what brain crack is, but use context clues, god damn it. Basically, like I was just avoiding it. So after a while, I guess, Nick got me into it and we just started watching, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty fucking good." You know, it's very well produced, has some funny transitions. The show is really funny in a lot of the areas. Like it spends a lot of time concocting a really light and funny atmosphere. I thought it might be Yuri bait, but it's not. It's like
no,
full
yeah.
it's like full on friendship stuff where it's like, yeah, we're friends and we're gonna do it and we're gonna sing and dance and win the Love Live. And it was fun. It's like watching a shonen anime, but with cute girls trying to level up their friendship powers and win. If that makes sense.
The superpower of Nico
Yep.
using the next form
Yep.
with her poop little scarf thing, whatever it was.
Yeah. Now you, Nick, you do it.
Man, I'm trying to even remember why I even watched it in the first place. Like, I think it was one of those shows that, at the time. Also, I want to correct myself. I looked on my anime list. I actually watched it in 2016, not 2015. But anyway, so I was watching it at that. I don't know what spurred it on specifically. I think it was just because at the time, the show was getting more popular in some way. I think, yeah, the show originally came out back in like 2013. Yeah. I don't know if Sunshine was going on at the time. Let me check quickly. I'm curious. Yeah, Sunshine was just starting to go on around that time. So it must have just been in the air, and I was just curious to try it. And funny enough, when I was first watching it, like the first season, I felt off about watching it because I think it was one of the first times I actually watched a show that was slice of life that was very like happy-go-lucky and stuff. Like
Oh,
I had watched Lucky Star beforehand, but that wasn't as like it didn't
like
feel as much like that because it seemed more um what's a
it
good
was
way to
more
say it?
like otaku-y, like oh man, they're both really otaku, but but
But I
Lucky
mean like
Star's more chill, I
yes.
feel.
Yeah, Lucky Star is also a lot more like kind of like every scene's like kind of a jokey gag sort of scene. It's like a one of those. It almost could be like a four koma manga in that way that it just kind of flows in that kind of like narrative. It's not like a big heavy plot. Like there's not like even though Love Live is a slice of life, there's still a plot going on in the background, and they
Yeah,
follow it. And there is
yeah,
like slow character development and growth. It's not like
yeah, and lots of emotional stuff.
yeah. So it was definitely off for me because I'm like, oh my god, I'm watching a show where there's like they're all girls and they're all being like very happy and girly, and it was just very off at first. But as I kept watching it, I adjusted to it and eventually just kind of came accustomed to it. And it took me a while to finish the first season back then, but I did, and I enjoyed it. But I didn't think it was like amazing. Like I just thought it was like an enjoyable experience. Um,
Hmm.
and like I know like some of the reasons why, and we might get into this later, but it had more to do with kind of like how the ending was and the drama, um, how that was kind of handled. And then it wasn't until like last year I decided to watch the second season. So some like 2 years later is when I finally decided to watch the second season. And I really liked it. Like I marathon that shit in a day, like all 12 episodes or 13. Um, and I thought it was really solid, like a lot better from what I remember. And at that point, I had actually started playing the mobile game more, so I kind of like was listening to the songs, looking at the characters again, so just kind of getting readjusted to all of it, which kind of spurred on the me wanting to watch it. And although I have also seen the first season of Sunshine, we won't talk about it here, but that also has just kind of continued about my interest and enjoyment with the series.
Hmm. Yeah, you were on that straight up idol train back in the day.
Yeah.
And like me, I don't think I could imagine myself doing that at the time because like for me, I guess I've watched shows with like cute girls and shit, but to go full idol is like that's like the next rung of like cute girl shit in anime. It's like the next tier. That's the uncharted realm, so to speak.
Back then I would have been very embarrassed to say I do, but nowadays I don't care. I like this stuff, so
Yeah.
it's for me.
Yep. All right. Who was your favorite character, Nick?
Well, I think you know, and
Yeah, I
anybody
already
here
know.
that watches us and also follows me on Twitter, then I'm pretty sure you also know as well. But my favorite girl is Hanayo because she like fits my interest to a T. In the department of being cute, in the department of being like short hair, in the department of she also wears glasses but don't wears glasses. So you can kind of get both of those. Um, I like her introduction into the show and how she's kind of um
Shy
like
girl.
yeah, she's the shy girl, but she's also kind of the one that starts the main three starting to get people from outside that group.
Ah,
um so she's kind of like that initial breakaway into the barrier that opens up like so many other of the characters to getting in. um and yeah, like I just really enjoy that about her.
I see. Yeah, like the amount of pictures this guy has sent me with that character. I'm like, Jesus, you really, really like that girl. Like she kind of grew on me, but like Nick's affection like borders on worship.
Well, yeah, it depends on what character we're talking about.
Yep. Like
Well, yeah,
I
no, no,
like
no, no. You know what? No, that's total bullshit. Like, even if it's a character I'm not like super into, I'll still have a fuckload of pictures about them. So
yeah. Yeah, as long as they're hot, like for
yeah,
me.
exactly. As long as they fit my interest, I'll have like 60 pictures at most. No, at least. Sorry, at least
At
60.
least we can't
Yeah.
undercount. um
Oh,
yeah.
but it's also interesting because originally, like when I first watched the show, my favorite girl was Nozomi, but that's
Oh,
changed. Yeah,
oh. I see.
that was
I
before I
see.
started developing the I like short hair, cute girls that like are just nice and stuff. So I like back then my tastes were a lot more wild.
I see. Yeah, like I like the fact she likes rice. I also like rice.
Who doesn't like rice?
Yep. It's
I
cute.
mean, rice is a grain, so if you like bread, you should like rice too.
Yep. Yep, 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 yep.
But
Yeah.
it's so interesting that you have to. I don't know how you can develop such a hard on for something so simple as rice. You can just eat rice and that's it. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
rice
like
is delicious, but I like it with stuff.
yeah, I like it with stuff. It's the perfect side dish, as said by Cosmo in Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's the perfect side dish. Like, but like specifically rice is is odd.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the
But
only way you could get worse if somebody who's just like, my favorite food is bread,
yeah, bread. It's bread.
just
Just
plain
plain
bread,
bread, not melon bread, not
not anything that has like any like the something to give it a taste, like cinnamon swirl bread or like wheat bread, you know, all this different,
yeah,
just straight up normal bread.
it's just bread. It's like yeah, just bread. Yeah. I think she's cute. Okay, moving on to like I guess my favorite girl, person, woman. I really enjoyed Honoka, right? Just because I thought she was just so I loved how energetic and happy go lucky she was. Like there's something about it that just kind of grows on you. Like in general in anime, I tend to like girls like this to begin with, where they're just like where they're really happy and like kind of silly, like in this and also slightly dumb. I don't know why.
She calls herself awkward all the time.
Yep. And to just have that personality where she's kind of she's really silly all the time, but also is a lot wiser than she looks. I always found that to be like really interesting and throughout the story because it's a lot of it is centered around her. I feel like she's one of the characters you see kind of not necessarily like change in terms of personality, but just kind of grows into like a role and kind of matures. So
Yeah.
that's what I really, really like about her.
She's the one that has to take the most shit most of the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she got her two friends always like tailing behind, always trying to like parent her in a weird way. I joke like in my head I joke about Umi and Kotori kind of being like mom and dad and
Oh
supervising.
yeah, they are in a way. Yeah, I didn't really think about it, but now that you
Yeah, like
mention it, that does
sometimes
I can see that.
yeah, like you'll have like I remember
Papa
the scene.
Umi and Mama Kotori.
Yeah. They'll have like the scene in like the student council room where like Umi's getting angry at Honoka and Kotori's like, don't be so hard on her. It's like, oh, it's dad and mom. So yeah, I just really enjoy seeing that and just kind of like this starry-eyed dreamer character I've always just been a fan of. So like, you know, having that in a girl is just it's great.
Yeah, she's definitely probably my favorite of the first years, or sorry, second years. Because yeah, I do agree that she has like a lot of fun spunk to her. Um, and I do enjoy energetic types too. because that's always been a type that I've kind of had a thing for as well. But even though it's kind of definitely simmered down a bit, but I still enjoy them.
Yep. It's like the passion for being in Love Live was just intense and great. So yeah, really love her character. Bullshit. Moving on. Okay, what about this series do you specifically like? As you can tell by the way I'm reading off, I'm doing like a weird interview format thing where I have questions written down.
He's actually just asking me all these questions, and then he's just kind of like, let me fill in too, so it's not just a full Nick show.
Yeah.
What do I like specifically? Well, I think for me, what I like the most is that it's just a well-rounded show in the terms of it's got like all the things you could really kind of ask for and expect in a kind of show like this without it being like some sort of weird cynical take or some sort of like it knows like it's like I don't know, like really happy-go-lucky or stuff, and it's just gonna play that up to the extreme. It doesn't tame. It has like really solid production, as we've kind of mentioned before. Like the animation, there's maybe a couple times where the animation just kind of simmers down, but it never looks horrible. It always is on like at that usual top bar level, which let's hope so, considering it's Sunrise doing all the animation.
Yeah.
I think obviously, if you're watching the show, you're probably gonna have an interest in the music, or at least if you keep up with it. And I think a lot of the songs that they do are really catchy and fun. And I'm not just saying that because I like playing the mobile game, which has that, but like what they fit into the show, and it's just fun seeing their payoffs. I like the level of comedy and fun nature to it, and even though like I don't know, me and Jade here have talked about this quite a bit. There does you at least for us we have this weird like we can tell it's trying to kind of sell you this product of look at these cute girls. Look at this. Yeah. Listen to this music. Buy our figures. Buy our
figures, or
all like, the soundtrack and stuff. But even though there is that, you can definitely tell there's that in this show. It doesn't. It's not bad, and it doesn't warrant like. It's not.
You can tell there was effort put into it.
Yeah, there's effort in there to actually make it a good show and make it enjoyable, so you can get more out of it than just that. And there are good messages and morals in there. There are like this nice inclusive nature to it, even though it's sometimes unrealistically really nice. I don't think that's necessarily wrong all the time. Like I'd rather have something be kind of a little bit nicer than just overly mean. So I just kind of like the mixture of all these different elements that help it to just make it a fun and enjoyable show that when you look at it, you're just probably like, man, it's just gonna be like one of those like silly girl shows with singing and stuff, and people that like it just like really cute girls and stuff. But there is a lot of more to, like there are some like solid gags, there are good character development moments, and it's not just that. Even though a lot of it is, there is more to it, and I think people can get some out of it than probably what they'd expect, if they're willing to give it a chance in the first place. If you don't want to watch it, then just don't, because it's not going to be like groundbreaking in it by any means, but I think it's still going to be fun enough to get some enjoyment out of it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you had to say there, because I also kind of went in with that like mindset that this is one of those series where it has a fuck ton of merchandise and it just makes money. Like I think back to like a meme I remember seeing on Twitter where it's like, it's like it's got like SpongeBob's parents walking into like a room where it's like, why SpongeBob's parents look so disappointed. right? And it's all just Love Live merchandise, like all over the room.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
like,
there's a reason why they call it idol trash.
yeah, it's just that, like, as you mentioned, it's the cynical. It's just looking at it and thinking, oh, this feels like it should be cynical as fuck. Like, let's just make money, right? Since robots aren't
You
making
think it
us
would be
enough
on an
fucking money.
assembly line, like it'd be like
Yeah,
man-made to be as perfect as possible.
yeah, it's that whole like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you feel like it should lack like an artistic sense of ability, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
yeah, that artistic touch of, yeah, I made it because I saw fucking I had a vision in my dreams. This is why I'm doing it. You know. But yeah, it's that whole, it's better, it's way better than I thought it would actually be. And whenever I come across something like that, I tend to really like it, because I'm like, yeah, this is actually
You let you appreciate the effort and level
yeah,
of actual enjoyment.
because they didn't
that you
have
put
to
in it.
do it. They didn't
No,
have.
they could have easily just half-assed it and just made it like just by the numbers, like typical. And obviously, I think depending on who watches it, some people might think it's like that, but I don't know. As long as you have like this at least some sort of an interest in watching this and are willing to just kind of keep an open mind and just watch something that's simple and fun and has some sweet moments, then that's all you really expect. Like I don't think this is going to change anybody. It's not some deep philosophical like show to really talk about any characters of the idol industry or any bullshit like that. Like it's just a kind of simple show about like
Yeah, it's a simple show about idols.
Yeah.
Well, one of the last questions I have on here is, would you recommend it and why? But I think we've already kind of said that, so I'm just gonna
I kind of put that in there.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say, like, okay, what was your favorite moment in the show?
Ooh. I think a lot of my favorite stuff, and I think honestly, like looking at this show, I think season 2 is overall slightly better than season 1, and I say that because the reason season 1 holds back a little bit for me is because there is a little bit like of this build up. You expect all these characters are going to be in there, like you can obviously tell because they're all part of the group singing in intros and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen, but it's still kind of a slow process to get them all in, and I don't think that part's bad, but that's what you just kind of have to go through. And then there's just some of the drama stuff in the first season. Again, not all of it's bad, but I think the last part, like the last couple of episodes, has this dramatic event revolving around Kotori and her and Hanaka's relationship around kind of stuff that's going on. And unfortunately, because of like how they could only fit this in a couple episodes, and they were trying to do a lot of other plot-oriented moments around that time, it doesn't really like flow as well as it should, and it kind of becomes a bit jumbled up.
Yeah, like towards the end, because like it feels rushed is kind of the feeling I'm trying to say. Like, yeah,
and
like,
in many ways, it also feels like the drama is a bit overblown. At least to me, it was. And it's the kind of thing that you can really nitpicky and be like critical about a character because of how they act during this part. That really kind of gets to you. And although they do fix it, it gets wrapped up really quickly, and it just kind of ends the show. And I don't think it was as awful as I remember it being from the first time, but it's still not like great by any means. I just think it's kind of like serviceable, but just could have been done better. And the drama in the second season definitely is a lot better handled. And it's really not even that overblown. It's kind of natural drama. And one of the other parts I like about the second season is the fact that all of the characters are together now, so you can kind of get all of their interactions from the get-go. You have more time for all these characters to just kind of have fun, talk with each other, and get moments with each other, which really helps out to just kind of create the bond that the show has with all of them. But that was beating around the bush. Like, one of my favorite, so my favorite parts a lot of the times are the individual moments between the characters, and when you actually got to get to see into each of the characters' little backstories and their personalities, and like what's behind them. Like, I think Nico's is a great example of that.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too. Like,
Yeah.
Nico, I thought she was just gonna be a fucking like meme character or something, and then you find out just her whole backstory, and it was some of the most heartwarming shit ever. Where you're just like, man, this is sad, but now that she's finally getting to live her dream, oh man, like, yeah, it's like I didn't expect her character to be this good.
No, there. Honestly, I think Nico probably has some of the most like subtle involvement. But what I mean subtle is that she's not like a main character. Like, you can say the main three are kind of more so, but she's a lot more moments in many regards to some of the other characters. So you can kind of really get to feel where she comes from and why she acts as she does, and you get to kind of see her get what she's always kind of wanted, but always has never been able to acquire.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorite moments that I don't think is as good as Nico's, but I still really like it, and just kind of what it involved, is I really liked Rin's little focus in the second season, when she has to kind of deal with being kind of more centralized in the group at one point, because some like unfortunate events happen and not all of them be together, and they kind of all decide she should be the center focus. And it has to deal with her like being like a girl, because she wants to feel like more of that, but she has such low self-esteem about who she was because of kind of what like how like boys when they were younger, kind of their attitude towards her and stuff. And I liked just kind of seeing her change from being like the tomboy and kind of growing a little bit more into it, even though she has really girly tendencies. I guess it was just a low self-esteem, as I said, sort of thing. And I just really liked that part. I'm also just a fan of like Hanayo's and Rin's relationship anyway.
I got you. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite moments in the series as well. It really, again, it showcased a side of her character, because, you know, you see her all the time. She's so happy and bubbly and whatever. And now, like, in this one little moment, it's like, oh, the insecurity underneath. That was just like really interesting to like.
I find characters that are very, like, they have this kind of not split personality, but they have like, they hide their emotions through how they act. And by that I mean like people that are very happy like on the outside and very nice and kind of fun and all this, but they actually do have kind of some suppressed stuff, and them having to go through that and kind of change. I like those kind of character moments and whatnot.
Yeah. Probably, like, again, like, since I haven't like said what I specifically,
but just going off for a while.
I'll just say like, probably my favorite like moment or like moments would be like some of the weird crazy gags they do, because some of it I don't like expect it to be like in an anime, and it generally caught me off guard, but also like added some life and also humanity to like the characters, where you're like, oh, you know, they're not above being like silly or whatever, right? Which is not something like you expect shows about like cute girls to like pull off like really well all the time. But it was just such a like it was just so well handled. Like one of my favorite scenes that I never expected was the whole. It was in like the first season, I think, where where, you know, they're having this big sleepover, and they're like trying to go to sleep, so they're like, oh, let's turn off all the lights, and they flip the light switch and, like, you know, turn off the covers, and the camera just kind of stays still for a bit, and then there's just this crunching noise, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" They wake up and flip the lights on, and it's Hanoka eating chips, and and for some reason, I just thought that was so fucking funny. Because that's not the shit. It's not the kind of shit I expected to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's what else? What else? What's another scene? There's the one where they're trying to like, they're trying to create a distinctive image for their their group, and they dress up like fucking Kiss. Yeah, that was pretty freaking wild. That's another fucking freaking great gag. I don't want to spoil all the gags, so last one. There's the whole like meme with Karasho with freaking Emmy, and
you mean Ellie?
Ellie.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like my fuck. But yeah, like the whole meme with her, and just the ways they creatively just stick it in there that makes
it's so
you
weird.
laugh.
Does it like once or twice in the first season, and in the second season they say it like 15 times.
Oh yeah, like it's just a big old freaking meme.
Like no, they don't like say anything about her being part Russian in the first season until like they announce that she's like a ballerina in the past or whatever. And then all of a sudden in the second season, like they just go full on. She's Russian, and she's always saying "Karasho" now.
Karasho. Yeah, like in her little sister, you'd think, I don't know how long she's been living in Japan, but she'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" And it's like, "Oh, this is mochi.
I'll get you a drink, and it's called curry in a can."
It's like, whoa. She's like, whoa, what is this? Yo, I'm like, it's cute, but it's also like, wow. It's funny. Yeah.
No, there's just a lot of like nice little gags like that are both like what you kind of expect in just kind of a little slice of lifey fun show, but there are just some other jokes too that you don't exactly expect either.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, would you expect poop humor in an idol show? Your hair looks like poop.
Yeah.
That was still like one of the funniest parts to me. Just some random ass kids looking at some girl and going like, "Poop head."
And yeah, I think this is a good spot to like wrap this particular thing up. That way I can like not have to edit a recording that's like over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And I can have this be like its own little.
It's also a lot more digestible for some people.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's it. That's all, folks.
Fortunately, we haven't watched the movie, which we know also connects to the first 2 seasons yet, but
Yeah.
We can definitely talk about that at some other point.
Yeah, the movie can be like its own little thing.
Yeah.
Like, before I go, I might want to say this because I was thinking of saying this, but like, yeah, this might be like an interesting little like series thing to do where it's like, oh, I watched this thing with somebody I know, and now we're talking about it together, and I'll put some fucking clickbait ass thumbnail and title to like get people to actually watch it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's enough idle trash on YouTube to like warrant making this video.
Oh my god.
Yep. I'm 100% sure we got this on lockdown, because for the longest time I just kind of felt like, oh, I can't make whatever I want because I gotta please the algorithm, and then people will make shit on like, on just the most random ass shows and like still break 50K, and I'm like, it's clearly there's something I'm doing wrong. And it's like, oh, maybe it's thumbnails and titles, maybe, possibly. So I'm just gonna make whatever the fuck I want and try to package it in a way to get people to like click on my shit. Now that I've revealed my secret master plan, I guess.
Speaking of being cynical, let's all be cynical towards Jade now. You're using clickbait?
Yeah, I'm
lowest tier of content.
I'm using the clickbait.
Top 10 things you didn't know about Love Live. Put circle and arrow pointing at Nico's
Yes,
boob.
red circle. Oh man.